Well, there will be, my first issue will touch upon, very quickly obviously, two old challenges, a failure in wealth distribution, and there's a lot of residual in growth models, which is asking for instability and change, and as well new challenges. Economics is a social science, don't forget it. That's why we are here now. And tries to explain how wealth is generated and is distributed. The economic activity has been very successful in generating wealth, but has a great failure in wealth distribution. Wealth distribution needs a visible hand, needs politics. So economics and politics are hand in hand. That's the name. That's why I made my choice of talking about political economy. You see, in the last century, what happened with generation? There was an increasing social gap. Poor countries multiply by 3 their per capita income from poverty, whereas rich countries multiply by 6 their capita income from richness. So there's a tremendous gap going on. Look at the rich countries, for instance, the US. Amazingly, the richest 1% of American households now has a higher net worth than the bottom 90%. The annual income of the richest 2,000 households in the States is greater now than that of the poorest 24 million households. If you feel happy as an economist with this situation, it will be very unlikely. Something is wrong with you. The market, why happens? Why is this? Because the market is mute regarding wealth distributions. Prices are not the final signal at all. Adam Smith was well aware of this issue. He said, a regulation which enabled those of the same trade to tax themselves in order to provide for their poor, the sick, their widows and orphans, by giving them a common interest to manage, render such assemblies absolutely necessary. In a free trade, the visible hand, an effectual combination cannot be established but by the unanimous consent of every single trader, and it cannot last longer than every single trader continues of the same kind. Very clearly, we need a visible hand. We need politics. Just for those of you that are not an economist, a very simple example. Why the market is mute. Imagine we've got 2 plants, plant A and plant A. Does it work? Yes, plant A and plant B. You can see the marginal cost of abatement, a ton, a unit. It's much better for plant A, it's more efficient than plant B in abatement cost. Well, imagine the regulator wants to cap the total pollution of greenhouse gas effect, SO2, to 4 tons instead of 8 tons. And they give each plant 2 emission permits, so plant A should clean the first and the second, as well plant B. What will be the social cost of this, achieving this goal will be 300 plus 900, that's 1,200. This is the social cost of this alternative. But if there is an illustrated government, he will create the opportunity to trade. And so each plant will receive, again, 2 emission permits, but they can trade. If they can trade, there is an opportunity to make money. The third plant will clean a third unit and will sell this permission to the second plant, which only will clean the first ton. So which is the social cost now of allowing trade? Will be 600 plus 300, that's 900. Before it was 1,200. Now it's 900, so there is an increase in wealth and social welfare of 300 euros. That's the miracle of trade. Trade, God, whatever it means for you, God, give us this toy to generate wealth. But there is no a clue at all at what price they actually trade. It would be any price from 300 and 600 will do. So there is no indication at all of what is the fair price. Any price will do. Consequently, the surplus will go towards the one which fixes a better price for him. If it's near 300, most of the wealth will be to the first plant. If it's near 600, to the second plant. This is a well-known problem called the agency theory problem and transferring prices. No? But I wanted, for those of you who are not economists, to keep it clear that the market is mute regarding the actual fixed transfer price. The second item of this first issue is the Soloff residual. This was a paradox which allows now to celebrate instability instead of getting sort of confused with this change, with this residual. It was published in 1957, but it triggered hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of papers on accounting, growth accounting, explaining growth. One of these papers, 20 years later, was published by Denison, and the main results are here in this slide. No? You can see here the factors increase, how each factor increased production. Capital, human capital, a decrease in work days, better uses of resources, scale economies. After allowing for all this contribution, there is a residual of 31%. That's very good, no? Because in the long run, it so happens that after paying properly to all the factors, still we've got a residual of 31%. This was quite a mysterious thing at the time. Well, what happens is that in perfect competition, the total revenue will be spent in the total cost factors, because profit in economic terms will be zero, also obviously in accounting terms. If you don't consider opportunity cost of capital, will be different from zero. So total revenue will be the residual plus is going to happen, that now is total factor cost plus unexpected residual, which is very important, it's 30% in a long period of years. On the other hand, we could put it in terms of the production. So the production will be a function of all the factors multiplied by a leverage, which euphemistically the economic people call it total factor productivity, which is the same, we don't know what happens. A leverage produced by learning, externalities, technological and managerial improvements, which are very difficult to model in conventional econometrics. But we want to interpret what is going on here.